Scenario number 2. I've decided I want to shoot a dreamy portrait with a really narrow depth of field. I want this soft look, I want the background out of focus, so I'm going to shoot at an aperture of 2.8. But even though I'm shooting at my lowest ISO 100, the picture's still a little bright. What can I do to make the image darker and correctly exposed? Let's jump over to the studio and take a look. With my lovely subject, Raquel, I decided I wanted to do a little bit softer, a little bit dreamier of a portrait. And so for that reason, I want to shoot at 2.8. What that will allow me to do is focus on her eyes, and then the narrow depth of field will kind of fall off and be soft towards the back of her head as well as her hair. So I've switched over to a 70-200, 2.8 lens so I can shoot at 2.8. So let me just take a shot and we'll do a little bit of problem solving. All right, so shooting at 2.8, 1/200th of a second, ISO 100. So the problem that we run into is that shot is way, way overexposed. So what can I do to still shoot at 2.8, still shoot at ISO 100, but not have my image be overexposed? Well, first, the obvious thing I can do is I can turn down the power of my strobe. I know that it's already pretty low, but I'm going to turn it down all the way. So I can actually turn it down, I think, about 2 stops. So let's test. All right, so I've turned it down 2 stops. And I'm making sure to focus on her eye. Okay, that looks much, much better. She's not blown out, but looking at it, I still think that there's just a little bit of overexposure on the side of the face closest to the light. Well, I don't want to touch my ISO. I want to shoot at ISO 100, and I want to shoot at 2.8, and I've already turned the light down all the way. So what else can I do? The next thing I can do is move my light back just a little bit. I usually avoid moving my light back early on in the process because it changes the quality of light. So I'm going to wait and now just do it just a little bit, which won't make that big of a difference. So let me move it back just a tiny bit. Great. All right, let's take a look at the exposure now. Good. It is a little dimmer, but I want it just even a little less light. So I'm going to pull it back just a little bit further. The further the light is from the subject, the dimmer the light gets, the darker the exposure becomes. Great, much better. When you take a look at this last change, as I move the light a little bit further, the difference is not that dramatic, but it's just enough for me to tone down those overexposed highlights.